Hi everybody, it's Elena here with our Witches Box live Q&A. We're a week delayed because I was not well last week. As many of you know, I had COVID, so I still sound a little raspy, but I'm totally here. I'm totally fine. It's good to see you all. I see that there are people already in the chat. Hi Emerance, hi Purple Pixie, Curls and Pearls, Rebecca. Hi Rebecca. Hi everybody. Let's see. Only 20 minutes. Oh, Purple Pixie, I'm usually in the middle of something and miss these. So today, oh, wonderful. I'm glad that you're here today. Wonderful. All right. So as you know, my voice is not well. I was just about to stick a little cough drop in my mouth because all the talking I did yesterday, we had 2 lives and I also recorded a video, kind of shot my throat. I'm definitely feeling better, Curls. I'm feeling great, actually. I'm feeling so much better than I was. But I still have this remnant like congestion and cough, and my throat is still a little raspy, tired. But other than that, I'm much, much, much better. It was miserable, I have to say. So let me just introduce what we're doing. Every month, at the end of the month, typically, this is a different date, but usually I'll do a live Q&A for that month's box. So we're here today to talk about the Sacred Smoke box that we sent out for the month of July. So this is an opportunity to ask questions, to talk about whatever you want to talk about related to the box and the theme of the box, even if you didn't get the box. But we can also talk about other witchy things as well. In terms of announcements, I made these yesterday, but just again, I'll reiterate that by Friday, so in a couple of days, we will start shipping out the August boxes, and they should be done shipping out by the following Tuesday. So those are getting ready to hit the mail. What else? That's it right now, I think, for announcements. Oh, and also, what is the other announcement? On Friday at 10 o'clock, we haven't actually set it up yet, but there will be a live guided meditation. So we're back to doing those as well. All right. Good morning, Lissem, Jamie. Hi. Oh, I love it. I love all these names. Hot steam it out. Yeah, the hot steam will get it out for sure. We are in a super, super dry environment. So unless I'm in the bathroom with the shower running, there is nowhere to steam right now. And it's a work day. So cough drops it is. I'm sorry, you're probably going to hear some of it kind of rolling around in my mouth, but this is better than me hacking and coughing into the microphone. Let's see. Oh my goodness. I know. It's a whole thing. August. The August box. I've had a nasty cough 1 month after I had COVID. Yeah, apparently it lingers for a while for some people. My husband didn't get the coughing as much as I did, but we had different symptoms. Like it hits people so differently. It's really a very bizarre, interesting experience. Hey, Project Refine Life. Hello. Thank you for sending me the healing. Wonderful. So who got the box? And like, have you had an opportunity to burn some of that incense? What has that been like? In the deep dive video that I sent out with that box, I have to cough. Sorry. Oh, excuse me. What did I talk about in that video? My brain is not 100% back, I have to say. In the deep dive video, what did I talk about? Oh my God, I completely lost the plot, you guys. I'm so sorry. Well, we talked about the incense. We talked about burning the incense. I also talked about spending time with each incense but as an entity on itself, to kind of get a vibe for how it works with you and what the energetic movement of each incense is. So I'm curious to see if anyone has had a chance to really dive into that and experience that for themselves. Let's see. A monsoon rain drop last week. I love monsoon rains. We've had a couple of days of rain here as well, which is wonderful. But even still, even with the rain, you can barely feel the humidity rise here. We're a forest up above, like desert, basically. It's very, very dry. I've never gotten used to it up here, even though it's beautiful. And I've spent the better part of the last 18 or so years here. my body has just never gotten used to how dry it is. We sleep at night with like 2 humidifiers going. It's intense. I think I was meant to be in a much more humid environment. This is not it. And so when you have a cough, it definitely exacerbates it a lot. Thank you, Rebecca. I talked about spending time with each one. Thank you. Woo. I feel like, from not having done any lives or anything for like, I think almost 2 months, like this week is just a huge deep dive in because I did 2 lives yesterday and then I had to record something yesterday and now I'm doing another live today and then I'll do another live on Friday. So it's a lot. I think my throat definitely is like, and my brain is like, what are we doing? I've been in bed for a week at this point. So it's a little bit of a shock to the system to come back so full on. Curls and Pearls has only worked with the space protection. Purple Pixie, I haven't burnt any yet. I prefer to do it outside and it's been so hot and humid. I haven't wanted to go out much. No, I totally get it. Denise Wheat, oh, I'm so glad. Thank you, Denise. Michelle, okay, you guys talking to each other. I had to smell all of them at once. Couldn't stop myself. No, that's totally fine. I totally get it. The Sem says, I've been playing with the recipe cards, using what I have to experiment and compare. Oh, wonderful. I've only opened the Calling Hecate so far. I'm relishing taking my time with them. Beautiful. I love that. If you can do it that way, that's a really great way of doing it. I know that there's this excitement and anticipation, right? When you first get something, you have to just dig into all of it all at once. And you can do that, and then put them all aside and then kind of focus on one at a time so that you can really get a vibe for it. And then also I want to encourage you to make those recipes your own. If you feel like if you can't access a certain botanical because it's just not readily available in your area, or in a lot of instances, I'm experiencing this now too, where things are just sold out and you can't get any more, experiment with bringing something else in, or experiment with just leaving that out to see how that changes the nature and the feel of each of the incenses as well. Oh, flash floods and power outages. Wow. We've had some, wild weather. This is our new normal. Curls and Pearls says, I'm on the quest for making my apartment a safe space for my son and I. I've been deep cleaning everything. Wonderful. Project Refined Life says, we're experiencing monsoons right now. Love monsoon season. We need the water. So I'm grateful. We've had, I think 2 or 3 days where we had just like a huge, just whoosh, big downpour of rain, lots of thunder. It's been really great. And then it just goes away and it's done. But we'll take what we can get because we've been in a massive drought for a very long time here. So the rain is always welcome. And then it cools things off too because it's been really hot up here. Oh, smart Emerence. Emerence says, being as dry and hot as Vegas is, I use my Instapot a lot and it seems to create a lot of humidity for a few hours. Yeah, you're boiling water. I have used the Protection and Manifest smokes and I love them both. Oh, wonderful. Edie, hi. I also have them under my pillow. Great. That's wonderful. Oh, good. I'm glad that you like them, Lauren Berg. Rebecca says, I'm currently spending time with a manifestation when I am sleeping with it under my pillow. I've had many vivid dreams. Oh, wonderful. Oh, that's great. It's a really great way of using it. Lasem says that the recipe cards are keeping my inner monkey in line. That's fantastic. Emerald says, I have not felt good at all after COVID, so I have not opened anything from anywhere. Amazon subscribed and saved boxes have only been what was absolutely needed. Yeah. Denise Wheat, I have had vivid dreams with them also, Rebecca. Amazing. Oh, good. I'm really glad. And it would be interesting too over time to pay attention to if or how the themes of your dreams change depending on which one you have under your pillow. Beautiful. Emerence is starting to feel better now and itchy to open everything up. Edie says, I'm in Austin, 100+ degrees for 2 months in no rain. Man, Edie, I love Austin. Austin is such a cool town, and I've spent time there, but I was lucky that I lived there for about 4 or 5 months, and it was during fall and winter, because I hear that the summers there can be grueling. I don't know that I could handle an Austin summer. The winter was beautiful. I loved it, every minute of it, even though it was kind of a little bit chillier than I wanted it to be, but it was wonderful. And you also, I'm sure that I've talked to you about this before, Edie, but maybe not. My husband and I just mentioned it to each other the other day. Torchy's Tacos is my all-time favorite taco place ever. I would go to Torchy's every single day. And the other place that I love, I can't believe I'm talking about this, but I really love Austin. Polvo's is a Mexican restaurant. I think it's on Colorado. Their salsa quemada is like the best thing I've ever had in my life. I would go there and get it in vats so that I would have it at home with my morning breakfast tacos. So good. Okay, enough of that. My appetite's back, can you tell? Emrin says Lake Mead has been so dry there's been things discovered. Yeah, I've heard about that. That's just freaky. Denise says, I haven't lit them, but sit with one at night and inhale the scent. My family laughs at my sniffing them. It's great. The only part about the sniffing, unless you have a super sensitive nose, although I have a super sensitive nose and it doesn't quite come up for me, is that you can't really fully get a vibe or a feel for the resins until they're burned. Like a resin, when it's dry like that, you don't actually get the scent. And then when they burn, then you get it. I really love the resins. They're also getting harder and harder to source. Oh, it's horrible. Okay. I've also been drinking Damiana tea at night. Wonderful. Oh, good. Second or Sacred Cottage. You're here for your second live. That's great. Curls and Pearls. I'm using cold grapes. Dark cherries for snacks to keep cool in Texas. This heat is not being kind. I bet. I know you said Texas is extra. It is extra. This is Sacred Cottage. What's the difference between placing it under your pillow or on your nightstand? It's just closer. You can have it on your nightstand. For practical purposes, on your nightstand can be a little dangerous because you can potentially knock it off. But if you have it under your pillow and if it's exposed, right, so that it's like in a little charm bag, like a little fabric baggie, then you're closer to the scent. And technically you'd probably be touching it too if you put your pen underneath your pillow as well. It's just a closer influence. But if you have it on your nightstand, you're still in the energetic field of the botanicals and the botanical blend. So it would still have an effect on you. I'm having torchies for lunch now. I mean, torchies forever. And I'm trying to remember which one is my favorite. Because I'm such a creature of habit that once I find like my favorite dish, it's the thing that I have every single time I go to the same restaurant, right? Oh, but Torchy's and their chips. Oh, I love it. I love Austin. We haven't been there, I think, since 2019, but it's fantastic. Okay. Fonda San Miguel Interior Mexican. I don't know what that is, but that sounds great because I'm all about the Mexican food. Hi, Angela. Welcome. I know it is a long time no see. Some Mexican food, please. Appetite is definitely back. Yeah. Oh, Mexican food forever. Let's see. Hold on. If it's 99, we say, oh, it's fall. Oh my God. It's my first time using incense with the charcoal discs, so that it's a hit or miss for me. It takes a minute to get used to it. I don't know why YouTube is holding back the term trailer trash. I'm just gonna show it and let it be what it is. Oh, that's a Torchy's taco. Trailer trash. Got it. I'm like, wait, what? Mine is I definitely carnitas because I'm a carnitas girl, but I forget what it's called. Oh, it was so good. And the sauces are great. Lauren Burke says, things getting discovered due to the dry weather is interesting. It immediately reminds me of shedding light on the shadow to reveal what needs to be seen. Beautiful. But hold on, because someone said something. Charcoal. Charcoal is definitely a hit and miss thing. You have to get used to it. There's also a tendency to like light it and then put it down, but you need to wait. You hold the flame to an edge of it, and then when it kind of like flares, and then it slowly kind of crackles its way across the whole disc, or the part of the disc that you're using, right? Because you don't have to use the whole thing. You can use it in quarters as well, so that you can save some of it, because it'll burn for a while. Obviously the ones that are like smaller chunks won't last as long as the bigger one, but you can. They're really inexpensive to get. You can get a bunch of them on Amazon. You can get them through azuregreen.net. I'm not sure where else you can get them. Usually new agey stores and witchy stores have them as well. In any case, you wait for the little crackling to kind of move its way across the disc. You don't want to be touching it when the crackle kind of moves across, because it gets really hot and it's lit. So once it's kind of caught and begins to move, you can put it down in the dish. Wait till it goes all the way through, and then you put the herb on it. And you have to put a little bit at a time, so that it just starts burning, and then you can keep feeding it over time if you want it to keep burning over a longer period of time. But it does take some practice. It doesn't take a lot of practice, but it does take a couple of like tries to get used to it, and then you're set. Rebecca says, technically I put mine in a charm bag under my fitted sheets so that it stays put. Oh, that's smart. Yeah. Curls and pearls. Edie is my day off. The Sum says, I need some sun. I work nights. The vitamin D supplements aren't cutting it. Oh, yeah. It's so important for your immune system. Jamie says, I asked this is the forum, but I didn't get an answer. I asked this in the forum, but I didn't get an answer. Is it not a good idea to use an electric burner? Sometimes the smoke sets off my alarm, so sometimes I burn incense on my electric burner. I don't know. I've never tried that before. Like when you use it on your electric burner, does it still smoke? I've never done that. I mean, look, the idea is that you are able to smell and inhale the smoke, because you're using the smoke as an element, as a magical element. Yeah. So as long as you're getting some smoke out of it, that's totally fine. But I've actually never burned incense on an electric burner before, so I'm not quite sure how that works. You want to work with the scent, but also the smoke. That's both elements of the incense are important for the energetic properties that we're working with. Oh, witchy tongs. Having a tong to touch the to work with the charcoal disc is also, that would be really helpful. You can improvise, and you can use if you can grab them at probably most like department, like kitchenware store. Those like little tongs that you use for ice. You can probably get those also like on Amazon. Those would be great to work with tongs as well, and then you can kind of witchify them and consecrate them as a sacred tool. Sacred Cottage says to Jamie, you can put the incense next to a window. I do that a lot. The scent still fills the room, however, the smoke goes out. Beautiful. Just the scent. Okay, good. Perfect. Then if it fills it up, that's good. If it fills it up with the scent, that's good. I get it, because if we're in environments where we've got fire alarms or smoke alarms, that can be a problem, because it can get smoky. Do I even have a smoke alarm in here? I don't. Wow. Because this office is small, and once I get my incense going, man, it's hard to see. It can get really smoky. Oh, and running an overheat fan, that's a good idea too. I was thinking the tongs for tortillas. Oh, well, the tongs for tortillas work too. Yeah, that can work as well. Although, sorry, I'm chewing. Sometimes, I don't know, the tongs for tortillas that I've seen can be plastic, so you don't want to melt the plastic. But if they're not plastic and they're not going to be hurt or burnt, by the heat, then that's great. Rebecca has to go. I love you. Have a wonderful day. I'm going to post the itinerary to the forum tonight or this afternoon, so that'll be up there for those of you who are coming to the live retreat. Excuse me. Yeah, so like that, the incense. And also, and I mentioned this in the deep dive gathering as well, you could blend all of those. By blend, I mean pulse in a blender, all of the dried herbs to pulverize them and make them a powder. The only thing I recommend that you do not do is also, this is for when you make your own, not for what I sent you, because in what I sent you, the resin rocks are already there. If you try to blend or pulverize resin in a blender, the blender blades get warm and then it sort of begins, it doesn't completely melt the resin, but it begins to melt the resin. And then that gets stuck on the blades and it ruins your blender. So don't do that. But when you make your own in the future and you want to kind of explore what the difference would be between having whole pieces of botanicals as your incense as opposed to having like a fine powder, blend the dried herbs, pulse them like in a Vitamix, because a regular blender may not have enough power to pulverize it, but a Vitamix or like a Ninja, right? Those juicers would. But then you need to invest in like a cheapy, they're usually like $9.99 coffee bean grinder that's just going to be solely for your resins. And there is where you make your resins into a powder, and you would do a very little bit at a time, and you would only pulse, because the minute it begins to get even a little bit warm, the resin starts to melt and it becomes, it's not even sticky gooey, it's sticky hard, and it ruins whatever you're blending it in. So you want to make sure that you blend them or pulverize them in something that you're okay with throwing away. So a $9.99, sometimes they're even cheaper, like at Target, coffee bean blender is the trick for resins. Not, you can probably do, you can do your herbs, your dried herbs in that as well, but keep the things separate, because it does, if you go even just a little warm, the resin begins to just get hard, sticky, and it's impossible to get off of stuff, and it ruins the blender. The other thing that you can do to help pulverize the resin is in a mortar and pestle. You can just, you can begin to kind of, pulverize it, and then that becomes a powder that you can include and blend with your botanicals. If you want to make it all into a powder, the scent becomes much more equalized. Everything becomes much more blended. And the way you have the incenses now with the botanicals blended, sometimes you're going to get a stronger smell of one thing as opposed to the other as you begin to feed the charcoal. So that's the difference. Lasem says that some candle care sets will come with tongs as well. Yeah, beautiful. We've got dedicated witchy blenders here in this house. My marble mortar and pestle smash the resin along with the herbs just fine. Perfect. You can do it that way. If I were to use the resin alone, it would stick a bit, but the herbs also no problem. Wonderful. And you can, if you wanted to try with, then if you do it that way with what I sent you, you can try to do it with the amounts that I sent you as well to create a powder for yourself. Yes, so we can definitely crush it in a mortar and pestle. I see buying several after the holiday sales in the future. Yeah, definitely. Excuse me. Hi, Lisa. One of my teachers said that a lot of people experience hair loss after getting COVID. I can attest to losing a lot of hair daily for about 6 months after oh my God, I didn't know that. I will definitely pay attention to that. Goodness. Angela says, what's the protocol for money and luck spells, and how can I make them work for me? Angela, what do you mean by what the protocol is? Because there are all sorts of different spells for money and for luck. So yeah, let me know what you mean by protocol. I mean, just off the top of my head, because we're talking about botanicals. Did we include a money botanical? We did not include a money botanical. Just the act of burning incense that is corresponding to luck and to money in your home on a regular basis can be a spell. So different spells have different protocols to them. So yeah, I need more words to give you a better answer. I'm probably going to have to keep chewing on or sucking on a cough drop. Sorry. What else is part of that box? Yeah, no, that's it. And the great thing too is that you've got those little canisters. You can keep those canisters. Obviously, they're yours. And refill them over and over and over again as you use the incense. I'm gonna have to cough again. Sorry. Oh, excuse me. What else? Right now the sacred protection, or the space protection one, is my favorite. I love that one. I'm really partial still to sage. I love sage. We have a lot of sage growing around the mountain. Like how to gather that energy and how long it takes to, on average, to manifest. Okay. When I'm doing money spells, again, all of this depends on people. Sometimes you just need money really quick. You can burn a bay leaf in the instant, kind of whisper your spell into the ethers and let the smoke carry it, and that's a spell. But I like money that's pervasive. I like money that's consistently flowing. So I've always got something going on for money. You can do well, let me tell you what I do. Because again, for every single witch book that you buy, you're going to find a whole different money spell and a whole different luck spell. For things like luck and money, you can go, I'm going to give you a couple of examples. You can go to a place called azuregreen.net, and they've got money washes and they've got luck washes. And washes are a really great liquid form of botanical blended with different scents that you can use to spritz around your house, that you can use to wash your floors with, right? So that your home is an attractor for money and for luck. I love to layer. So I do things like that, where I'll have mists or incense or sprays or washes that are about that. But then on top of that, I'm also running, I've always got some sort of sigil, shoal spell going that's a little bit more complicated, but I like to do that because it works with your subconscious and it works with your own personal power. The other thing that I do is I love salt bowls. I'm a big salt bowl user. So I'll have a salt bowls, particularly in my office, that has nothing but salt to neutralize the energy. And then I'll put herbs and things inside of that that are all about money. So that the only thing that gets filtered into the space is money. Things like cinnamon, things like gold coins, things like gold leafing, a symbol for Jupiter, right? One of the Jupiter sigils inside that space, so that things that are expansive and things that are money and things that are correspondent with quickness are part of the space and is constantly kind of being fed and activated in my space. So I do a lot of layering, particularly when I'm focused on something like that. I would do the same thing if it were about health or if it were about protection. I like to layer my spell work going on. Some things are quick and easy and quick, like right now I'm going to do a spell and I'm done. And sometimes there are things that I just feed over time and keep the energy moving, especially when it's the new moon to the full moon, because it's what it's attracting, right? It's something that you want to grow, something that you want to build momentum for, that helps your energy build over time. Candle magic is also really great for this. So I would light a candle that would be dressed with oils and herbs that correspond with money and luck. I would start working with it on a new moon and keep burning it as is safe, all the way through to the full moon, so that the moon is creating that culmination of energy and building of energy over time. So those are just some examples. I'm not sure if that totally answers your question, but there are a variety of different ways to do that. In terms of how long on average it takes to manifest, it depends on you and it depends on the spell, and it depends on the circumstances, right? Because manifesting $100 is a lot easier than manifesting $1 million. I recommend that you work in increments, because we're also, especially with money, what we're dealing with is our own issues around upper limits and our own belief systems around how much you can have and how much you can't. So it's important to also be doing that internal work as well. Is it possible to manifest $1 million? Absolutely, but it depends on you. And do you believe that's possible? Do you have upper limits around how much you're able to hold and how much you're able to flow with? It might work better, and it always works better actually for me, to work in increments. Like, okay, I'm going to increase my income this month by, let's say, $500. I'm going to increase my income next month by another $500 and keep going in that increment, as opposed to, hey, by the end of August, I'm going to have $1 million. You want to work in increments to keep building the capacity that you have to hold space for this new reality. Yeah. Hold on. Emin says, would you elaborate more on the cutting the cord incense and its use? That incense is a really wonderful supportive ally in rituals around cord cutting. We're actually going to do a class on that in the next before the end of the year. Cutting cords has to do with those energetic cords that we have between us and other people, or us and other things, where we're hooked into something that we really don't want anymore in our lives, that doesn't really serve us, and we need to eliminate or cut or end a particular dynamic that doesn't serve or that is dysfunctional. It could be that breakup that you had 15 years ago and you're still not over it. You're still like clinging to it. You're still perseverating about it. It's still a guiding force in your life that keeps you in a reactive space, right? There's a dynamic there that is a dysfunctional dynamic that's keeping you back, that's holding you back, but it's also a dynamic that you're still feeding. So cord cutting is rituals and acts where you begin to sever those energetic connections and cords that we're still fueling and feeding that are super unhealthy for us. The incense is a way to give yourself energetic support while you're doing those rituals. So I would burn it during the time that I'm doing that ritual to have that elemental support while I'm doing the work. Does that make sense? What is your rule of thumb when creating incenses like the ones that you created? I don't know that I have a rule of thumb. Characteristic of the way I work would be things like, there are some people that will throw in like 18 different, 30 different, 50 different botanicals into a blend. I don't do that. I like to keep things simple. And so typically I will keep my ingredient list below 7. I like to stick to like 5 at most, but sometimes, something else really wants to be in the blend. And so I'll have that in, which is something else that I do, which is before I create a recipe, I meditate and I ask the elements, like what really wants to be part of this blend, what really needs to be here. And then I wait for those answers to come. But I like to work with a smaller amount of botanicals as opposed to like the law. You have people who somehow feel like it's super magical if I've got 3,000 things in the thing. I think that when you get that complicated, you are introducing so many other energetic streams, because each botanical comes with a variety of different correspondences, a variety of different movements, right? And if you have a singular intention, the more refined and closer and layered in that intention that you are, the better, right? So that if things are much more focused on that intention, you're going to have much more movement in that direction. If you've got 1,000 different things, there's a lot of energetic interference. And so I don't know that I would call that necessarily a rule of thumb, but that's how I tend to work. I tend to really keep things as clear and simple, but also as laser sharp as possible. So less is more for me. I don't know if that answers the question. The Sim says, yes, cord cutting and banishing are big topics for me right now. And they are energetically because of where we are in the year as well. If you're in the Northern Hemisphere, as we start to approach fall, it becomes the season of cord cutting, right? Because it becomes a season of letting go. It becomes a season of cutting out or culling back. Excuse me. I'm getting super congested. So it is common for it to start to come up for ourselves, right? Like, oh, I'm starting to feel like this is a pull. I really need to start paying attention to this aspect of my life. It becomes much more prevalent at this point of the year. Amaranth, I don't know if that's a question. Creating a money bowl that you keep going, or maybe that's a suggestion. You're welcome, Angela. I'm glad that was helpful. Curls and Pearl says, what about the home protection when you live in an apartment and have a yard to bury stuff in? What about for home protection when you live in an apartment and have a yard? Curls, are you asking about a spell, or you're asking about using the protection incense, or just doing things in general for protection in your space? Oh, hold on. I just skipped a bunch of people. And don't have a yard to bury stuff in. You don't need to bury things necessarily in the yard for protection. Wait, let me not answer you until I get to what you say more things later. Okay, that was to somebody else. That sounds very feng shui too, Elena. Yeah. Don't have a yard. We can't put anything in front of our door per apartment rules, but I have a patio. So would rosebush and rue plant work? Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, if you could do potted plants, so you can do rue. Rue is a really powerful plant. Rose bushes as well. Lavender, rosemary, those things really help. But you don't necessarily need to be able to bear to. I feel like maybe you're answering someone else, so I don't want to overstep, but I don't see the question. Um, but pots of plants are great. And then if you can buy, or if you know somewhere where you can harvest those plants, I think maybe you're talking about soil though. You can buy bundles of it and then tie them at the end and hang them around your house as they dry, and that can also have a powerful effect. I put my used spells in a cloth bag with some soil from my neighborhood and take it to work and dispose of it there. I can't bury right now either. So we're talking about disposal. That's a really good idea to do it that way as a disposal. Also, running water, if you can do water. If it's not going to clog up your pipes, you can put something down the toilet because you're flushing something in water. It's the same energy as if you were to put it in a stream and let it be carried away by the stream. But you also want to make sure that what you're putting down there isn't going to clog things, but also is like ecologically sound. It's not going to be toxic to the environment. Tanny, these boxes are already sold out, unfortunately. Thank you. Oh, hi, Ralph. I'm definitely feeling better. I don't sound better, but I'm definitely feeling better. Um, mm. Lisa says you should always put any resins in the freezer before putting them in the blender. That's a good tip. Thank you for that. I don't do that because we don't. We used to have a refrigerator in our workshop, but we don't have a refrigerator in our workshop anymore. One day it just decided to stop. But that is a really great tip to freeze or put your resins in the freezer first before you pulverize it. That would also help tremendously. I imagine too, Lisa, that it would probably also help to shatter it easier, right? If it's frozen. That's a good, oh, thank you for that tip. Emerence, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that on the website, I don't even know what year, but if, let me try to picture the website. I think that on a sidebar, or maybe at the top, there's like a little search section, or a search bar, or a search field. If you do cord cutting in there, or cutting the cord, there is a ritual for cord cutting that will pop up for you in the blog. If you put them in the freezer, you need to pulverize them immediately. Okay. I love this tip. This is great. You're welcome, Lauren Berg. Wonderful. I got it. Many bowls is a suggestion for Angela. Oh yes, I've been thinking of using a bowl for safety too, but also 1 or 2 charms. Beautiful. G, I'm new to resins. Can you recommend a good source brand or vendor? Star West Botanicals, I think is what they're called, or San Francisco Herbs has they're running out of a lot of stuff, but I think that they still have some myrrh. Lately, who else has got resins? Hold on. In smaller, I'm thinking big quantities. In smaller quantities, you can go to Azure Green. They also, I think that they have copal and they have myrrh and they have frankincense. In the past, I think that they've had benzoin as well. So I would search in those places, and then also you can get them through Etsy. Sometimes if you do a search for resins on Etsy, you're probably going to get a much wider variety there. However, it'll be smaller amounts. Remember too, I operate in really large amounts, so my like resource list for this might be a little different. When all else fails, I would look on Amazon, but usually what you find on Amazon are 1 pound bags, which might be worth it if you really love to work with resins, because resins on their own are incredibly powerful. And you don't have to have any other botanicals. You can literally just have a charcoal disc and a little resin rock, boom, and you've got an amazing smell for a long time that you can work with during a ritual. So they're really potent and they're really beautiful. And sometimes, depending on the resin, you have to kind of hunt for it, right? My favorite still, it's been my favorite for a while, is copal. I love copal. But sometimes you can find like benzoin, or you can find pine resin. Pine resin is also delicious. Juniper resin. Those are a little harder to find, but you can, if you do a little searchy search, you can get at least a small bag of it, particularly on Etsy, because we're getting more and more really great small vendors on Etsy that provide you with things like that. Angela says, I found engraved charms that also suggest an offering to. Okay, we're talking about Loa, no, not law of attraction, because when I first saw LOA, I wasn't sure what you guys were talking about, but okay. I feel like the offering is a great way to get to know them. Yes, absolutely. And the natural elements, and to distinguish the two. Beautiful. Yes. I know, Project Refine Life. That was an awesome tip from Lisa. And Nicole. Welcome, welcome. So like that, lots of incense. And then, I'm a 90s witch. I'm old school. I am still, even though I know it's toxic and people are like, oh my God, you shouldn't be burning this stuff. I am still I'm looking at a massive box. I have a box of Nang Champa because I'm such a Nang Champa girl. I just love to have the scent around me. So we are very incense heavy around these parts. And the blending is great. You can, when you make your own, I don't think that I put notes about this in the recipe card. I kept the recipe cards fairly simple. But for instance, if you're going to blend your own cutting the cord, if you're going to blend your own space protection, what else did I send you? Possibly even calling the ancestors incense. Maybe Hecate, depending on how you work with Hecate. All of those, I would wait and blend those during a waning moon. Obviously, the manifestation one, I'm trying to remember all of them. Oh gosh. The manifestation one would be great to blend during a waxing moon. What else did I give you? Protection, ancestors, Hecate, and cord cutting. Those 4 during a waning moon. And manifest. What was the 6th one? What am I missing? I don't remember what I'm missing. Oh, the trance journey. The trance journey, I would probably also blend during a waning moon as well. Hi, Aisha. I'm glad to be back. Oh, well, the law of attraction too. Glad you caught that. My bad. No, because it was you're both talking to each other, so I just kind of scanned, and then it caught my eye, but then the context kind of shifted. So I was like, oh wait, I misunderstood what they were talking about. I found a set of 7 different resins. Oh, great. About an ounce each on Amazon for about $10. Just for experimenting. I'll research better resources once I know what I need. Oh, beautiful, Sam. Also, what a great, I don't know if you bought it or not, but what a great thing to buy so that then you can kind of get a feel for which ones you really are drawn to the most. Because 7 is a good little amount of variety. That's great. I might look for that actually. And $10 is so inexpensive. Beautiful. Okay. The problem is that I didn't bring my warm fluids. I didn't bring any tea with me. So I have ice cold water because I'm warm today. I'm just kind of a little bit of a hot mess. But the coldness aggravates my throat. Which means I may need another cough drop in a minute. Which has a ridiculous amount of sugar. I wish that they didn't add sugar to this stuff because it's just not a good thing to have when you're sick, but there it is. Lots of glucose. Excuse me. I have been playing with it since I received the smoke box. Oh, wonderful. Good. Cool. Well, as you know, that the next box that's coming out is the Moon Mist sprays. There are a few other goodies in this box as well, but you're going to get recipes for those. And so now we're working with a liquid medium as opposed to hard botanicals. And what is it? And essential oils, which I'm really excited about. It's been fun making these sprays again, but oh my goodness, we are just not equipped for the volume. We're just not, and it's just probably never going to happen. I don't think we're ever going to get into a bigger space than this. So I'm happy to have all of you have the recipes so that you can make them yourself and we can talk about the making, which is fun. Warm water and honey for your throat. Yeah, yesterday I had tea, and then I also had warm water, lemon and honey in water. But yesterday kind of wiped me out and I slept in, so I needed to rush to get over here. So I didn't really prepare a whole lot of things. I had enough wherewithal to grab the cough drops and water, and that was it. So after we're done here, I'll run home and get better equipped for the day. Amaranth says, I noticed being warmer after COVID. I get super hot for hours, especially after cooking and eating. I feel like it lingers. I mean, I'm testing negative now. I took a second test just to totally be sure because it's so counterintuitive to be negative when you still feel sick. But my viral load obviously is very low, but it just continues, right? The stuff just still continues in the body. And the only thing that you can do is just continue to nourish yourself and rest. I'm really, really, if anything, and I'm grateful for it, even though I really don't want to experience it ever again, I'm grateful that it really drove home the necessity for when you're tired, just stop everything and rest. Just stop. Even if it's inconvenient, even if you have 8,000 million things to do, I know that's not a number, stop and rest. And so it was humbling because I didn't have a choice. I had to rest. I didn't have the mental capacity to read while I was in bed resting. I couldn't really do much of anything because I just wasn't functioning. And it was hard to do that. It was hard to kind of let go, but I needed the lesson. So, I think that the recovery is much longer. I think that having a negative test doesn't really mean anything, obviously. I mean, it means something because we were all concerned about passing it along to other people, but it doesn't mean anything in terms of I still need to take care of myself and really get the amount of rest and nourishment I need to heal, because obviously it's still lingering. It lingers for a long time. Manuka honey lozenges would be amazing. Manuka honey is so beautiful. Curls and Pearls says, out of the blue, what is the best book for starting shadow work? The best book so far that I have read that I really love, and I love what she does, her work is really gorgeous, is Tiffany Lasic's, the second book. Excuse me. The first one was The Great Work. What is the second one? I know you guys know. It's The Noble Something. Tiffany Lasic, Noble. Oh gosh. I can't find it on my shelf. But I know one of you remembers. It's Tiffany Lasik wrote 2 books, and if I'm not mistaken, the first one was The Great Work, and the second one was The Noble Work, or The Noble something, The Noble Art. Yes, Michelle, thank you. The Noble Art is a gorgeous book, and the way she has set up her system of working, it's very multi-layered, but this one takes you through very specific steps and exercises to do shadow work. And the way she describes it is so easy to access, and so thorough in terms of the questions that she asks you. I think it's a great place to start because she's got it set up so that you do a whole year's worth of work, really thorough, really in-depth, but also accessible. She did a beautiful job with that book. So that's the one I recommend. Her name is Tiffany Lasik, Lazic. Yeah. Yeah, Emerence. It's one of the things that I'm liking it to is I'm gonna get personal and some TMI-ish, you guys. I was talking to someone about living in a woman's body all these years, right? I have a menstrual cycle. And one of the things that I love about having a menstrual cycle is that male bodies and other bodies have their internal hormonal cycles as well. But when you have a menstrual cycle, you go through very specific transitions from week to week. Your body is constantly in flux and in changing. And what I've loved about that experience my whole life is that you really need to be tuned in and checked in with yourself on a regular basis to kind of get a feel for where you're at and what you need. I think it's one of the beautiful lessons of having a menstrual cycle. However, follow me because I'm going to speak to what Emerence was talking about. I'm 50 and I'm now perimenopausal. And so the rhythms and the shifts and changes that I was constantly going through consistently throughout all my life were things that I totally took for granted because I was very fortunate to have a very consistent cycle. So it became very easy for me to not have to be so deeply, intimately tuned into myself because I already knew. I knew how the whole thing would roll. Being in perimenopause now, it's like it's a crapshoot. I have no idea from week to week what's happening. And it's made me recommit, but also it's turned back my attention to having to be really finely attuned to what's going on and be on a constant and very present space and state of checking in. That to say that I think it's a beautiful exercise in intuition to do that. But when you're sick like this, and it's an illness that's unpredictable, we don't know, no one knows. It's always just weird and different for everybody. The other gift I think that comes with it is that it really requires us to be very deeply and intimately checked in on a moment by moment basis with your body to say, hey, what do you need right now? Recognizing that in 5 minutes it may be something different. It really brings us into presence, or it gives us an opportunity to really be in presence with the continuously shifting needs of the body, which I think magically has applications as well, because that's how energy moves. Energy is in constant flux. Things are constantly changing. And when we're able to tune in that refined of a manner, not only are we more present, but we're able to really be in deeper relationship with what we're in relationship with. In this case, it's our health. So it is definitely one of those things where it's a moment by moment, like, what am I needing now? The food that used to do this to me before doesn't do this to me now. I need something different. I need a different type of nourishment. I need a different cycle of sleep. It's consuming, but I think that it really helps us refine those muscles of really being tuned in and embodied and present. Which I know can be incredibly frustrating, but there is a little bit of a silver lining, especially when it's something like this, where it's like, it's so unpredictable. We don't know from minute to minute what our bodies are going to need, because this virus is weird. It's just freaking weird. It just does all sorts of different things to different people. It's very difficult to predict how it's going to affect one person as opposed to the other. Yeah. My husband and I had a very, very different experiences. We both were, obviously, we lived together. We were both infected. And how it worked through his body, it was very different than the way it worked through mine. And I know it has a lot to do with our individual health issues, our individual needs, our individual levels of burnout. And also, I think that for me and him, it pinpointed which parts of our body systems were weaker than others. So tuning in and being present has been a gift from the very not cool ass kicking COVID. Kim says, Noble Art, I am going to start this next year. I worked with the first one as she guided, and it was great. I mean, she's really, I cannot say enough about the work that she did with both of those books. I really respect her and her skill set, and she's also a therapist, and it shows in the work that she did. But it's a great guide. It's a really great guide. And you can get it now. And I mean, you know, obviously start the process when you want, but you can get it now, read the first kind of introductory chapters that give you an idea of what the systems are, and then stop and then just skip right to the season that you're in now and just start there and then complete the book. You can work it that way, and just start immediately from where you're at, and which I think is also fantastic. I have to cough. Excuse me. Curls and Pearl says they will both be here on Friday. Awesome. They're chunky monkeys, but yeah, definitely worth it. My cycles have physically stopped. However, I still have emotional cycles that follow the same patterns. Full moon week, I still have PMS type emotional cycles. I'm learning a lot from it. It is one of the blessings that comes with having a menstrual cycle. I have been really fortunate in being able to love it my whole life. Of course, when I was very, very young, I got it very early. It was a horrible inconvenience, but later when I really got it, I'm like, this is such a great, it just kept me in my body. And it was such a beautiful personal clock that I learned how to ride in a very particular way that I've really appreciated. So being in this transition is like, oh, what is happening? It's taken me a minute to really appreciate, oh, this is really, this is super refining my attention. I needs to be much more refined than it used to be because I took for granted what I knew was happening all the time. So it's been interesting. Emin says, I was in menopause at 50. I developed a somewhat rare autoimmune condition in my 40s, might have contributed to early menopause. Ever since autoimmune and menopause, I no longer feel like me. You change. Of course you don't. Like, you totally change. Our chemistry is really very integral to who we are. And so it's a rite of passage. You have crossed a threshold and now you will forever be different. And there can be grief around that. There can be a lot of sadness around that, but there can also be a lot of liberation when you start to discover a whole new side of yourself. It is not a small transition by any means. It is massive. It's a massive one. Didn't we get the Noble Art or something similar in the book subscription? We got both. It sounds familiar. So both books were sent out as part of the book subscription at different times. I think that they were like a year and a half apart, right? Because she wrote the great work first, and then the Noble Art came out sometime. When did we have her? We're in August now. I don't know if it was at the end of last year or at the very, very beginning of this year that second book came out. I don't remember. It says, it's always on the new moon and all I can do is sleep. And then that's all that you need to do. For sure. It's, our world is not set up, unfortunately, to allow for the living out of our natural rhythms. And this is where I think that, I'm not quite sure what the answer is, but this is where more and more I'm being pushed towards, like, what would it look like to live according to my natural rhythms, that have nothing to do with the external world and the demands that the capitalistic society that we live in put on us. Okay, I'm sorry. I have to grab another thing because the scratchiness is getting big. And as witches, right, as intuned and intuitive beings that work in relationship with the energy and the natural world around us, both the seen and the unseen, following those natural rhythms is so important to those relationships, but it also then flies in the face of the way the world really requires us to be. It's not easy. I don't know the answer. I know that I'll be turning 51 in October. It's still something that I'm trying to figure out. It's still something that I'm trying to learn little by little over the years. I shift my life a little bit at a time to be much more in alignment with those natural rhythms as part of my witchcraft path. And it's not easy when the world around you is like, oh, no, you can't take a week off every month because of your period. But wouldn't it be great if you could? Because that's what your body requires. Your body requires sleep. Certainly, I try to create a business that allows for those things. And then I also tried really hard to learn to just embody it and trust, but it's not easy. Autoimmune condition also altered my thyroid. That can be so hard. It's always on the new moon. Yeah, okay, I read that already. And read that. That's not to me, mine too, but it's weird because I'm a diabetic with Crohn's, Cushing syndrome, PCOS, and a lot of chronic fatigue, inflammation, and neuropathy. That's really hard. It's a lot. It's a lot. Our bodies, I think that we're seeing such a higher spike in illnesses like this, particularly inflammatory and autoimmune. Okay, I had to put it in my mouth. And autoimmune illnesses because I think that the macro and the micro reflect each other, and the world is sick. The planet is sick. The way we live makes us sick. The pressures make us sick. I mean, we're just our styles of living and the societal drive for doing everything counter to what is natural to our body's rhythms and our body's needs and our soul's needs is making us all very sick. Very, very sick. The way we treat the soil, the way we create food, the way that we eat, what we're eating, and how denatured so much of it is. Of course it affects us. Of course it affects our health. There's no way for it not to. Oh, thank you, Witch of the West. Is it super witchy? It's a little flat and dirty today. But yeah, I decided to go natural, and actually this month marks an entire year of growth because it was a year ago on August 8th, actually. This is the last day that I dyed it. So this is the growth that I've had in a year. I had hoped that it would be a lot faster and longer by now, but this is it. Someone's talking about, but I'm still here and going to live until at least 150. Listen, Emirates, I'm right there with you. I'm under contract to be here until I'm 111. That's my number. Although, I don't know, I would take 152 for sure. The Sim says, full moon has been pulling all my emotional connections up and forcing me to deal with them one by one. New moon has been refilling the energy with some closure, been very healing, beautiful. That's a beautiful cycle. Goth Goddess says 67 in September. Woohoo! Congratulations. So glad I am not having my moon anymore. Haven't had it since I was 37. That's a young age to not have it from. Yeah, I think I'm ready actually. I've loved it. It's been a deep connection for me. But now I'm like, okay, I'm ready. It's not going to happen quite yet because I'm still cycling, but just irregularly. But I thought that I would be sad, but I'm not. I'm actually like, okay, I'm ready for a new transition. We'll see how that goes. Oh my goodness. All right, I think I'm gonna go because my scratchiness is getting worse and my nose is getting more boogerfied and it's just getting a little gross. But this is today. This is our Sacred Smoke live gathering. At the end of this month, we'll do one for the Moon Mist spray box. Anything else I need to announce? I said this in the beginning, but I'll say it again, that Friday we'll begin to mail out boxes starting this Friday. Hopefully by next Tuesday, all of them will be out. And we have the Healing the Witch Wound virtual retreat happening at the end of this month. There's a link to that on the website at the top menu bar. It's a 2-day immersion, not a 3-day this time. but it's going to be pretty packed with information. So we're going to do a lot of work over the course of those 2 days. We also have a live retreat coming up at the end of September or the middle of September that I still have not. I created a page for it so that people can sign up for it, and then I lost it in the website disaster of 2022. So I need to redo that. But we only have, I think, 3 spaces left for that. So I'll send out an email about it when I get that page up for information. The next box will be about magic. That's all you're going to get. I'm still trying to put things together for that box. In fact, I need to actually finish or try to get orders in by tomorrow, but like that. That's the only thing you're going to get. Hold on. Okay, you guys are talking to each other. Layla, hello, goodbye. Yes, meditation's back on Friday, and I will definitely rest. And I think that that's it for announcements. I feel like I'm missing one more thing, but it'll come up. All right, my loves. Again, questions or any experimentation with your blending and things, you can go ahead and talk about that in the forum. And that's it. Have a wonderful, what's today? Today's Wednesday. Have a wonderful Wednesday, and we will talk again soon.